documentation that you will receive from your facility that you've asked for in advance, so you've documented on your plan, what are the things that you should be considering? You need to consider, are they fully understandable? Can you get the gist of what the process is explaining? As I was saying to you earlier, the process or policy procedure should be specific to your organisation, not a generic one. I should have a general idea of how audits are conducted in your facility by reviewing the policy and procedure. Now, with an auditing policy and procedure, it's not going to be very site specific, because your process, as I said to you in the beginning, is the same no matter what sector you're in. It'll be just different roles and responsibilities and titles and so on and so forth, and where the information is stored, and that your policy will describe that. So is it comprehensive? When we spoke about your policy and what it's going to detail, does your policy include all of the scope and criteria, the roles, the responsibilities, the timeframes, and does it prescribe what you're going to do for your audit? Are there any requirements or situations not referenced in the procedures? So we spoke about Johnny earlier on, we spoke about Johnny earlier on, and Johnny, doesn't like, because of his condition, new people coming in and interviewing him. Okay? There may be other residents in the facility that it's not appropriate to interview them for some reason. You need to have those restrictions in place, and we spoke about the restrictions and resident rights within your policy, so that if you should run into difficulties with an inspector or with somebody doing an on-site audit, you can say, well, in actual fact, we have this already detailed in our audit policy because it's in line with our service and our specifications for our service. So you won't encounter that difficulty, hopefully, with an inspector, whether it be external or internal, an auditor. External is usually an inspector, okay? What can go wrong? So if you're looking at this policy on anything, if something occurs, is there an escalation process within the policy regarding roles and responsibilities and communication? And is there also a detail within the policy procedure regarding audit? So every policy should have an audit element to it, okay? Are there any necessary checks or records to be reviewed as part of the audit? When we go back to when we were talking about resident rights, and we were looking at the resident rights process, we discussed we would want to look at the risk register, the PPG, complaints, and we would look at, we were thinking about any records now. Care plans, yeah, perfect. They're all kind of the organisational documentation, but this is specific to the resident now. The record will be care plan. It might be flowchart, right? Okay, or a daily record of the care provided, or a progress sheet, or any other terminology. Key worker sessions, annual review, all of those. I know there's different sectors here. It might be a communication sheet, a progress sheet, it might be a log of daily care, it might be a timesheet with a record of the care provided if it's quick in and out service in a home where they're there for half an hour or 40 minutes. They're all the records that you would be looking at in line with resident rights. Activities, absolutely, activities. All those records or forms, they're not policies, but they're still related to the resident. The green ones is what you'll be looking at. So all the other bits and pieces. And this part here is your organisational processes, and this part here is your starting your observation. So you have your documentation review, and then you have your observation of your practices is going to come from your forms and interviews. All right? Okay. Now, the other thing that you would maybe want to consider is over-dependence on one individual person or piece of equipment. And you made an excellent example area of how the HICMA report guided you in your facility into getting additional training for a manual handling trainer, train the trainer. Okay? So again, over-dependence should be picked up on by an auditor if one person is doing too many roles and responsibilities, okay? And interface is clearly defined as well. Are there training requirements details as part of the procedure? So if your policy and procedure said that the staff need to be trained on auditing, Is it all staff? Is it key staff? It needs to be very specific. Are there any recent changes to a procedure? Okay, so if your procedure changes, for example, you should have a new revision number on it, right?
Yeah.
So does everybody know where the revision number is on that policy?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're looking at a review date, you're all aware of what the SIs say regarding your organisational policy and procedure dates for review.
So every 3 years.
It's every 3 years.
3 years.
Okay, so if you're looking at a piece of legislation, for example, the restraint guidance that has come out in March of 2019, and in June of 2019 the organisation revises its restraint policy, you would expect to see that there would be reference to that new framework in the policy. Is everybody following me?
Yeah.
Hint, okay, all right. You would expect to see that any new guidance whatsoever that would be considered as part of your documentation review, because it's naturally part of your auditing process, because you will be going with your best practice documents and guides to your audit to begin with. So you will know what should be in place in the policy and procedure for the facility. Okay? So, the other part of it, we're great for documenting policies and procedures in facilities, and interestingly enough, with the Savita Halapanava case, the policies and procedures were in place, but they were not communicated to staff. Okay, so it goes down to a point that you were making. Are the documents easily accessible? Are they in a format that staff can understand, based on language barriers, difficulties that we have with comprehension around complex English language? You know, that all needs to be very, very robust in your facility. And are staff aware of them? And how we would verify if a staff member is aware of a process would be through asking them to verify what's in it. Not in a demeaning way as a quiz or something, but you would need to verify. You know, saying to somebody, have you read the policy on restraints? I have. Do you understand it? Yeah, I do. That's not going to give you any information whatsoever. And have all the clauses of the QMS been addressed? So, QMS means a quality management system. So when we talk about key characteristics of a quality management system, you're speaking about document control. That the policies and procedures are accessible to staff, they're up to date, they have a review date on them, there's a documented review process and evidence that the staff have read and understood the new process or policy that has been drafted. Okay? And there's a clear document control list of all of the documents for the facility. Doesn't need to be fancy, an Excel sheet will do. And there's a date of when it was generated, when it was reviewed, changes that were made in it, and the next review date. So at a minimum, that's what your quality and safety system should have in place. A document control. Okay? Otherwise, the risk being is wrong versions of policies will be circulated around teams and people will be working off a policy that is older and possibly not evidence-based anymore. So all older policies and procedures and forms should be retracted when a new version is issued out. And companies have document management systems and electronic document management systems. If you're using a paper-based system, it physically means you have to remove the old policies and archive them. Okay? Don't need to remove the old forms because obviously there's resident or service user details on them and you can't do that. Okay? Alright? So your elements of a quality management system are also key as part of your auditing